G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And I'm a BMW guy. My 135 is sitting right over there behind the camera and I love it. But today we're going to find out if I can be swayed by this 2019 Mercedes C43 AMG, which I have been assured is one of Mercedes' finest. First though, let's answer the question of why I love BMW so much. Well, name me another car that's got an engine that makes this much power with the potential to make far more going to the rear wheels with a transmission this good that's also available with a manual, with big brakes out of the box, fantastic steering and balance with a nice interior for 13 grand. No other car on planet Earth represents value for money as good as a BMW. Every single similar hot hatch from Volkswagen or Audi is front-wheel drive bias. An IS350 falls apart in the corners with its small brakes, couchy suspension and awful transmission. A 370 GT at least lets you control the transmission fully, unlike the Lexus, but the interior and the horrible fuel consumption let it down. Porsches are out of the budget and, well, that's kind of everything worth considering, frankly. To me, BMWs are the ultimate driving machine. But there is one more brand to consider. Mercedes. It's the same recipe as BMW, just perhaps set up a little more luxuriously. But I've got to admit, if it weren't for the fuel economy and the dated interior, a C63 for only a little bit more cash would run rings around my 1 Series in every aspect. But this C43 on the other hand, perhaps when they come down in price a bit, might just be the perfect middle ground. The engine is something I am rather unfamiliar with because it's not an inline six. This is a 3-litre V6 twin turbo, and it's certainly packing some serious punch. It's got 287 kilowatt and it's got 520 newton meters of torque. It's paired up with a 9-speed transmission. How many gears do you need in cars these days? Drive, thankfully, is rear biased, but it is going through a 4MATIC all-wheel drive system with just over 60% to the back and around 40% to the front. So V6 instead of inline six, twin turbo instead of single turbo, full-wheel drive rather than rear-wheel drive. It's a similar recipe. Jumping into the interior, and there are a few things that are quite different. I'm used to having the shift knob down here in the center console for starters, whereas Mercedes puts it here where you would normally find the wiper stalk. The steering wheel is almost a square. It's got very flat edges and a very flat bottom. The gauges though look fantastic. I was rather surprised to see a full screen gauge cluster because my car only has a tiny little Nokia phone looking screen down in the bottom corner. This thing looks like I've got a full-on high-definition TV right in front of my eyes, and you control it with these funny little swipe panels that looks like a old iPhone Touch ID button. The infotainment screen here in the middle is controlled with this rotary knob, much the same as BMW's iDrive, and the build quality throughout is really rather impressive. You have this tiger wood texture here on the doors. Another thing that's strange is the controls for the seat are there on the door, which means if the door's open, you can't reach them. But the seats themselves are very comfortable and have a large amount of bolstering on them. Naturally, this is designed to compete with a BMW 340i, but so far it looks really nice, it's very comfortable, it's very practical, and it makes even more power and torque. So let's get back to seeing how this thing drives. Well, I suppose the first job is to see if the C43 is fast. Holy, that's good. Wow, Mercedes, you have made a good car. Not only the speed, but also just the response, transmission, and then the throttle response. That is immediate, no turbo lag. Downshifts happen perfectly. The character is a interesting hybrid of a dual clutch and say a ZF8. It manages to be smooth around town, but the upshifts are very crisp like a dual clutch transmission. It's actually a really fantastic gearbox. There's a few things I don't particularly like. I'm being strangled by the seatbelt at the moment because it's detected that I'm driving in a sporty manner and has yanked on the seatbelt to try to hold me in my seat. The handling though is actually extremely impressive. The four-wheel drive system clings onto the road beautifully, and out of here, foot down. Oh, that is very, very good. And then there's the engine. Obviously the sound is fantastic. A few burbles from the back end. It's a much more shrill sound than the straight six that I'm perhaps more used to. But that doesn't mean it doesn't sound good. The drivetrain of this car is peachy. It's a perfect amount of power where it hauls this big family wagon along just fine on a back road like this. Transmission does exactly what you ask, up and down gears, and I love the upshift noise. Just listen to it. Steering feel is a little bit vague. It'd be nice if it was maybe a little bit heavier. Like, it's very light. Even in sport mode you can control it with, you know, 2 fingers if you want. But the good news is it's very quick, and you'll see, man, for a big car, subtle adjustments translate to an immediate change, and the grip is fantastic. Traction control is quite intrusive, but it is a sensational drive. It looks great. The interior is lovely. It has every feature you could ever need. I love the fact you can like change the gauges and have lots of cool displays showing up here. The transmission is fantastic, and it is really, really fast. Maybe I'm going to become a Mercedes man after this. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I would definitely recommend the C43. It's one of the best modern cars I have ever driven, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.